What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a pretty interesting video. We're going to be finally installing the RBC intake manifold for the RSX. I got everything you need here. Well, not everything, but some important things you're going to need. First, obviously the RBC intake manifold. I got this on, I think, K-Series parts for like $380 or something. You can find it elsewhere on sale. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's new. Just make sure it looks good. All the fittings and stuff are good, and then you shouldn't have a problem. But to run this on the RSX or the 06 Type S, to be specific, you're gonna need just more than this. Obviously, you're gonna need the intake. You're gonna need the thermal gasket, which I will leave a link to all this stuff in the description. This right here is the gasket, and it's also a template for when you're cutting off this coolant passage, which is nice. And then you're going to need a throttle body adapter with a gasket if you're going to run the stock throttle body. So this is the gasket, and then we have the adapter plate here. That's only if you're going to run the stock throttle body. I would look into forums and stuff if you have something different. But since we're going to keep stock throttle body, you're going to need that. So, where do you modify the RBC? Well, in this instance, let me flip this all around. This piece here. So this is how it's going to look in the car, just like that. Now, on this side, there is this little coolant passage thing here. This fitting down here, and also this this hole here. This whole section here is going to have to get trimmed off. So what you do is flip this on around. Flip it on around. Take your thermal gasket here, and you're just going to line it up. All right, so you got it lined up there. All the bolt holes are lined up. Now, this is very important. You make sure everything is perfect, because when you go to cut it and nothing's not lined up, you've basically just wasted the intake and you can't use it. So you're going to want to make sure everything is just perfectly lined up. And now see right here how it's a perfect template here, just like that. Just draw with a Sharpie or something your rough outline. Obviously it's not going to be like perfect, but close enough is gonna help tremendously. As long as the bolt holes are lined up and stuff like that, you should be fine to trim all this off. All right, so major update here. So we have all the intake manifold bolts out, and we're gonna go to slide it out, right? Well, the problem is it does not clear the power steering pump. So what you have to do now is take out this stud. Or sorry, this stud, not that one, this one. The intake manifold stud, this one. And how you do that is you do the two-nut method. You back both of them together like that, the first one being backwards and the second one normal. Then you just take the wrench, you gotta make sure these two are tight. Then you take the wrench on the back one, and little by little it's pulling out the stud. Then once that stud comes out, then we should be able to lift this up and out. I just slip them out. And there it is. Holy time later.
A little build up in those intake runners.
All right, guys, welcome back. Day 2. Well, day 2 for you, day like 4 for me. Finally, it's time. We have everything trimmed up, test fit it like 7 times. So just start putting everything back together. Let me set all this up here. So before we start putting anything back together, we're gonna clean all the mating surfaces, like the one on the intake manifold and the one on the actual runners on the head. And then we're gonna put it back together.
staring at the sun in my eyes. I've been keeping on the run every night. But you're too far away to see the signs. So I'm staring at the sun till I'm dry. 'Cause I need to learn to...
All right, intake manifold is bolted down. All the bolts have been torqued, and this thing is not going anywhere. All right, after you get all the intake and everything buttoned up, the most important thing you do here is relocate your map sensor. So move it from the top of the throttle body over to the top of the intake in these positions. Okay, the next thing you can do is if you're having length problems with the hose, you can just run a breather off of your crankcase and then cap off on the intake. Okay, moving on. Next, any other vacuum line that you see here can be just capped off with rubber caps. You got one there on the top, one on the side. Alrighty, so as far as my final conclusion of this entire project, it's definitely more than what you see. I cut out a lot of difficulties. We had to run into a bunch of stuff, including replacing a bunch of bolts, which bolts are bolts. If you have to reuse it, you have to reuse it, but if you can get new ones, go ahead and get new ones. Throttle body gasket, make sure you get a thermal throttle body gasket. Don't use a paper one. You're going to have a vacuum leak like no other. Torque down all the bolts. The ones on the throttle body adapter are Allen keys. However, you cannot get regular Allen keys in. You're going to have to use the Allen key to socket. I think it's called a hex bit or something. Not right Allen keys, but use that to get better leverage, to make sure your things are tightened down so you don't get a vacuum leak. You're going to have to replace the rubber hose on the top. And I would actually recommend replacing all of your vacuum hoses anyways, and getting new worm clamps and making sure those are tight. I would also recommend running the breather off the valve cover. I think my biggest complaint about this entire process was, for someone like me or someone, you know, that's doing this, that thinks it's just simple and plug and play, it's actually not. It's actually really tedious. You have to search a bunch of forums for answers to certain things, and I think that you definitely have to pay attention to a lot of what different people say. The answer is not just clean cut and clear out there. You have to modify a bunch of stuff. However, I think in this video I went over pretty much everything, not everything, but most of the things you're going to have to watch out for that most people in forums don't say, which is really annoying, obviously. But other than that, I mean, it was a simple process. It's just when you have to modify a bunch of things and chase down vacuum leaks and search forums for hours, it's very annoying. However, it went all right. The second half was pretty smooth, as long as you know what you're doing and you torque down everything, double check vacuum leaks, make sure things are capped off that need to be capped off, and make sure you run your tune. You should be set to go. So everything was set. The car runs good now. The tune was flashed, and I'll be really looking forward to making some videos of some more races in the future and seeing this thing get put to work. So that is going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.
I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body in Harvard above me.